Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Nikki, for leading us and leading such an important program with so much vision and inspiration. Um, I am very, very excited to have a friend of mine on, good friend of mine named George Martinez. George is the Texas director of coalitions. I think I got that right, George, with the LIBRE initiative. And he is joining us all the way from McAllen, Texas, down by the border for those who are not familiar. And George, would you start off by just telling us a little bit about your personal background and your work with LIBRE?
Definitely. First of all, thank you for having me, Mia. It's a pleasure to be here with you and the Aspen Institute. So a little bit about me. I was born in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, and that's about 2 hours south of where I'm from, or where I'm at now, and raised in the Central Valley of California. My parents were farm workers and they worked in the fields for a very long time. My dad was shoveling the day before he found out that he was diagnosed with glioblastoma, a deadly brain cancer that ended up taking his life. And unfortunately, though we grew up in a poor to middle class area, and we grew up in a 3-bedroom shack owned by the owners of the land. And my mom was able to find a way to get out of working in the fields because it's hard work. And she started her own cleaning business, cleaning houses. And basically at the end of it, I didn't realize what God was doing in my life. But I have found that the work that my parents did in instilling the principles of hard work, of self-reliance, of less dependency of government, that was instilled in me. And I made my way to Texas almost 9 years ago, where we have family here. I have married and I have 2 kids and one on the way.
Thank you, George. Well, you and I have both come off of a very interesting political cycle. For those of you who are not familiar, LIBRE Action very specifically goes out and really advocates for Latinos in the community. And I was doing a little bit of work in the Latino community as well, especially down along the valley. But you know, as we're coming off of this, what are a few of the takeaways that you got from this last cycle? What are the things the community is talking about? What are our people concerned about, and where do they see the future moving?
So I've had the privilege and honor of working with the LIBRE Initiative and its sister organizations and a separate organization that you referenced to, LIBRE Action, for over 10 years now. And the one thing, the big takeaway is that public policy matters. So it impacts everyone's lives, but a lot of people are just trying to get ahead in life, trying to meet the ends meet pretty much, and people are busy. So it's the job of groups like ours to inform the community of principles that will allow us to achieve our American dream. So public policy matters, and it's our job to inform the community of what's going on. The other thing I would say is that you can't take any demographic for granted, and specifically with LIBRE, the Hispanic community. We've seen in 2020 and where we're at now a change in demographic or in voting, but that wasn't a surprise to me. I've been in the ground here, like I said, almost 9 years. So prior to that, I was spending a lot of time here talking about economic policy specifically, and that started resonating.
George, I love, you all did these really key events down in the Valley where you were really talking about issues, you know, what do we call kitchen table issues, the biggest one being the cost of inflation and how that was affecting our families and our ability to provide for families. Can you tell us a little bit about the success of those events and what the message was?
Definitely. Well, I'd like to preface it with this. The Hispanic community is 10 years younger than the general population of the US, which means that we are the unfortunate ones that have to pay debt longer. And government on both parties are spending trillions and trillions of dollars, and they're both at fault. And that's not right. So we had many events throughout Texas and throughout the country, but specifically here in the Rio Grande Valley where I'm at, where we talked to the community about the true cost of Washington. And how government spending is causing inflation. And so what we would do is go out and give out gift cards to a grocery store on the certain cost of inflation. So if it was three days worth of inflation, we were going to cover the inflation, or if it was 7 days, we did that. And we had the community also talk to a member of Congress about the issues that they're facing because of inflation.
Such an important thing. You know, I grew up in South Texas, not far from you, and like you, came from a working class family. And so, you know, I think when we're talking about issues, and you said policy matters, you know, that spans political alliances. You know, it's not just one side or the other. You know, these are human issues that we're all going through, and we're all trying to figure out together. I want to kind of switch really quickly, if we can, to a conversation about, you know, you talked about where you were born, your family coming here, the fact that you still have family on both sides of the border. What is your view or your vision, your hope for the United States, but also what are your family's visions and hopes for you and for the country?
Yeah, you're right. I spend quite a bit of time in Mexico as much as possible. My mom is there now. We spent the Thanksgiving break out in Los Ramones, Nuevo León. That's the state and area we're from. And my vision, I get the opportunity to really talk about immigration policy. Obviously, being born out of the country, becoming a naturalized citizen, it took a long time, and my parents helped me with that. And the big thing that I would like to see is to increase legal pathways for people to come here, to contribute to our society. Those who want to work hard, get ahead in life, and get, reach their American dream. I'd love that. And this is an issue that we need both sides to work together. We're about bipartisanship. One side or the other do not get to decide alone. So that's my dream, because if there are people that have talent and skills and they want to contribute to America, well, there should be a legal way for them to get here, or more legal avenues to get here. Now, when I speak to my family, I actually just spoke to a cousin of mine, Martin. He's an attorney in Monterrey, and he was asking me, hey, how are things going in the US? Because what I'm hearing on the news, that's all they have really, right, is that things are going great. And well, when you compare it to maybe where they're at, I would say it's probably great too, right, compared to that. But we talked about inflation, and that's something that they're dealing with as well. And they hope, because Mexico is our #1 trading partner here in Texas, that there's more access where we can continue to trade freely, where we can sell, trade, produce without government interfering, where there's less regulations, but where we respect people's right to do the same.
I love that. I love that ending message, and the story of immigration is so important to our country. I could talk to George all day, but thank you so much for sharing your time and sharing your story with us. With that, I am going to take us to Maryland, where my fellow Melissa Hyatt and Chief of Police for Baltimore County are up next with her guest.